I love this book and hope it gets checked out a lot from the Oosterhout Free Library. It's called Loyalty. And one of the things I like about it is it's about the American Revolution, which is so fascinating and so exciting, largely from the Loyalist perspective, which we don't hear a lot about. Loyalists were the people who wanted to remain a colony of Great Britain. They were loyal to King George III. The people who wanted independence were called a couple different things, sometimes patriots. There was a third group who didn't have one side or another. And interestingly, American people at the time were about evenly divided between those three groups. I'm Miss Melissa at the Oosterhout Free Library with First Page Fridays. Loyalty was written by Avi. It's a pen name. He just uses that one name, and it was published by Clarion Books. Our main character is fictional. Some of what's in here is true, and I can tell you some more about that after we read the beginning. Friday, April 1st, 1774. On this day, my father was murdered because he said a prayer. It happened in our town of Tilbury, a few miles west of Concord, in the province of Massachusetts Bay, the British colony in North America. A crowd of some 15 angry men had gathered outside our door. "Death to tyrants," they were shouting. "Keep our freedom! Down with King George!" Not only did I smell wood burning, but smoke drifting into our house. I didn't know the reason for the fire, but feared the worst, since I knew that houses were being burned and looted by such mobs. Father had told me that. Despite the uproar outside, my father, Solomon Cope, the parish minister of Tilbury's Grace Church, had gathered our family, my mother, Clemency Cope, my two sisters, Mercy and Faith, and me, Noah Paul, about the table for our regular pre-dinner prayer. We struggled to keep our attention on Father because, since it was spring weather, our two front windows had their shutters open, and some of those outside men were leaning in to listen to what Father was reciting. A prayer from a book called Morning and Evening Prayers for Families, Wives, Children, and Servants. For as long as my memory reached over my 13 years of life, Father read that prayer to us each day. It was, he believed, his duty to do so. Being the absolute head of our family, even as he was head of his church, he was a strict father, an ever-correcting teacher, sure of himself and unemotional in his ways. But at that moment I was witnessing his fright, something I had never seen before. Let it be said, a frightened parent is, for a child, a terrible thing to behold. In a shaky voice he read, "Help me daily to increase in the knowledge and love of Thee, my God, and of my Savior, Jesus Christ. Show me the way in which I should walk while I am young, and grant that I may never depart from it. Bless whatever good instructions have been given me, that I may be ever growing in knowledge, in wisdom, and in goodness." Knowing what words came next, I nervously flipped the hair out of my face and tried to keep my eyes on Father, even as I stole glances at the men at the windows. As if seeking strength, Father took a deep breath, gripped the book tightly in his small hands, and completed the prayer. "Bless and defend and save the king and all the royal family." No sooner did the men leaning in hear Father utter those words than the door burst open, we never had a lock, and some of the mob rushed into our front room. Two held muskets. With a hand clamped over his mouth to prevent him from speaking, Father was dragged from the house. Were these assailants strangers from another country or province? No. Every man was from our town of some 50 families. I knew them all. A few were parishioners of my father's church. One of them I was shocked to see was Mr. Downs, father of my friend Micah, who often visited my home. Sons of Liberty, these men styled themselves, insisting that they, and they alone, were preserving our freedoms from the tyranny of England. From the front cover. The Revolutionary War is brewing, and when his Loyalist father is murdered by a mob of patriots, sons of Liberty neighbors, Noah and his family flee their small town for the safety of Boston. Intent on avenging his father, Noah becomes a spy for the British, witnessing firsthand the power of partisan rumor to distort facts, even as his friendship with a young black freeman opens his eyes to the hypocrisy of men who demand freedom while enslaving others. Awash in contradictory information and participating in key events leading to the War of Independence, Noah must forge his own understanding of right and wrong, determining for himself what or who truly deserves his loyalty. So I'm going to give you some information here about what was true in this book. It's really fascinating, including some things I just learned today. Check out the rest of our programming online and in person at the Oosterhout Free Library. The family in Loyalty is fictional, but there were attacks like that on both sides leading up to the American Revolution, and the author took that prayer and the prayer book it was founded from his research about that period. Of course, the Sons of Liberty were real, and in the book we meet some of their actual leaders, Joseph Warren, Samuel Adams, Paul Revere. We also go to the Battle of Lexington and Concord, which is considered the start of the war, and it's traditionally called the shot heard round the world. Now, that's a very well-known phrase, but until today, I didn't know where it came from. I looked it up in the library to get ready for First Page Fridays and found out that it was written by the great writer Ralph Waldo Emerson, and it was a poem written for the dedication of a war memorial on the site of the Battle of Lexington and Concord. So you learn something new every day at the library. We have lots of books about the American Revolution, fiction and nonfiction, here at the library and on our free Cloud Library app. I hope you'll check it out and also look at our online and in-person programming here at the Oosterhout. See you next time from First Page Fridays.